everything makes sense, you just don't understand shit. I'm kidding, but this is what the entire fandom sounds like, but ReZero is arguably way too convoluted for its own good, as even I, the elaborateness enjoyer and complexity connoisseur, was not impressed when it first aired. However, I did watch it again before the second season came out, and oh boy was I mildly incorrect in my initial assessment, cause I swear, this is the only anime that changed my opinion so drastically after I got to understand what was actually going on. Hello comrade, my name is Mahis. Come, get yourself a beverage and sit down with me. We got this to enjoy. In order to properly look into this mess they call a story, and yes, it is messy, sometimes unnecessarily so, we got to use everything we have at our disposal. Anime, novels, forums, ideas shamelessly stolen from other people, okay, maybe not the last one, but be warned, for I have made peace with my past, present and future, which means that the barrier has been lifted and the spoilers are free roaming this video. Starting from the very beginning, there is something that has been bugging me for the entire first season and is barely addressed anywhere. Why did Emilia call herself Satella on their first encounter? I know, this is pretty inconsequential and a lot of people have forgotten about it. However, we've learned that you-know-who is one hell of a persona in this world and that Emilia wants the complete opposite of what she did herself, to not be associated with the Witch of Envy. The answer is pretty simple, she wanted to shoo away Subaru. You have to remember, she was on a quest to find her stolen property, the insignia that pretty much means the world to her since her goal is to win the election. When she introduced herself, Puck mentioned that it was in poor taste to do that, and with her hesitating, we can conclude that something is up. Right before the names, they were talking about where he came from, and Emilia couldn't wrap her head around the fact that nothing he said added up with this world's geography. Lugunica is the easternmost country. He can't read, he's of seemingly aristocratic origin. No wonder she was suspicious, especially after her trinket was non-consensually borrowed. So, in order to find out what's what, she brought up the ultimate trump card that would surely trigger some type of reaction. Satella is a calamity that everybody knows about. Emilia looks like her, and on top of that, everybody treats her as a witch already. Yet Barusu was completely unfazed and even complimented the name, which I think sealed the deal and Emilia started to trust them more. But what if she didn't do that on her own accord? There is an obvious connection between these two, as this ray of sunshine was even able to multiply her life expectancy by 0 just like that. What if Satella made her say that name, so Adida's boy falls in love with Leah, does some mental gymnastics and transfers those feelings to her eventually? On the topic of love, we can't have a ReZero video without talking about this moment. I'm very pissed, because I have no clue what those people think when they hate on Subaru for saying he loves Emilia. First and foremost, this is coming from a dude so single I might as well have a PhD in it. However, if I was to fall in love with someone, another person's confession wouldn't convince me to change my mind, unless it goes something like this. Is Rem waifu material? For sure, but this latent archbishop has already made his choice, and frankly, this is not what the scene was about. To quickly recap why he's head over heels for the Ice Girl. She is his type, we can say that based on the posters and figures in this room. Secondly, she was the first one to lend him a helping hand in this new world, and in general was very kind. Barusu noticed that she was in a rush, yet still stayed behind to make sure he was okay. Then they basically went on a date, did some stupid shit, helped a little girl. I mean, how can you not fall for this when you are a lifeless shut-in? Oh, and of course, they died together while holding hands, so toss some guilt in there too. After his first resurrection, he has seen Leah from a few new angles, but she saved his ass yet again, plus they succeeded in a life-threatening situation, forming a pretty solid bond. And if you're still not convinced, you may be forgetting that a human can fall in love just because... who am I kidding, nobody is going to accept that, so how about Satella pulling strings and making him love Emilia since they look the same or some shit? Anyway, back to the purpose of this dialogue. Rem knows what Natsuki feels, so the only reason she was talking about it is to remind him of what he's fighting for, because at that point our dude was broken, like absolutely fucked in the least desirable way. To bring him back, the maid was performing a certified talk no jutsu by telling him what she feels like, which in turn triggered his own memories and feelings towards Emilia and snapped him out of the misery. The next set of questions that people have is related to this chunk of paradise and includes, but not limited to, what is Sanctuary, why were we stuck here for an entire season, and why in the name of this fucking particular did we even go there? Well, this is a place where Echidna was hiding from my soulmate. She created a barrier that would separate the soul from the body of any demi-human upon entry or leaving, which may imply that Hector is one too and is actually trapped there. She also used this facility to experiment with immortality, creating spirits, etc., and ultimately it became her resting place. In the process though, the witch trapped some demi-people here too, to allegedly use their blood for research purposes, and with Roswaal's help, they were chilling in isolation until a bunch of new dudes barged in while running from the cult. You see, on the surface, we need to go there and find out what's going on, since they should have been back by now. However, listening to Frederica's remark about telling them what Mr. Clown has ordered her to say, we can deduce that something's fishy. He wants to revive his teacher. Period. That's his only wish. To achieve that, he needs to break the seal and release Echidna's soul. Well, couldn't do that himself, so Emilia has to step in. Why she? Because it will aid her reputation in the royal selection, which will also benefit Roswaal. In order to get her body out, one needs the blood of the entity who sealed it in the first place, and that entity is Volcanica, the dragon protector of the country, who is only accessible to royals, aka whoever wins the political race. With that established, it's all about Emilia taking trials and turning Subaru into a zealot who will help her ascension. The problem is, he's not about that life, so Ross does everything he can to get in his way and even makes a bet that has some undesirable outcomes. To sum up, it's the simp's fault for keeping us here. He made Garv hold people hostage, summoned the snowstorm for rabbits, and of course hired the assassins, all to make our boy be more like him and set the priestess onto a path of becoming a queen. Speaking of simping, what's with Ram's confession to this crackhead? She should hate him with a fiery passion for killing off her village, right? Well, it's not that simple. Let's start with the fact that he didn't really kill anybody. He was more like a bystander who knew what was happening, but chose not to interfere right away because his gospel told him to do so and he saved them at the last minute. On one hand, yes, she was fuming. On the other, he did save them when he had no obligation, provided them with a home, job, and overall a very decent life. Over time, their rage will subside and he'll become a person both sisters depend on. Ram especially, since she can't absorb magic through her broken horn and has to rely on Roswaal's infusion. On top of that, they formed a contract which states that Ram will help him to kill the dragon, and in return, she'll be able to do whatever she wants with him after the deed is done, or if the gospel makes a mistake at predicting the future. As you can see, they have a bit of a history and a solid bond too. I'm not certain whether she loved him then, but I'll surely say that everything has changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Two archbishops attacked the caravan. One of them was Gluttony, and he basically erased Rem from existence, minus the body, which no one cares about except her husbando. As a result, Roswaal is now the only close person to Ram, and that must have empowered her feelings or transformed the love she had for her sister into affection for her master. Alright, time for probably the most controversial part of this video. Many people have a poor opinion of Subaru, consider him a whiny, annoying, one-dimensional piece of human being. Naturally, you're entitled to your own opinion, and I won't say that you're stupid for thinking like that, but I'll heavily imply. I believe that our main protagonist is somewhat relatable and quite realistic. He gets transported to this world and is all excited, which is already weird because for such a shut-in, a change of scene should have a negative effect. Oh well, he thinks about it as if he got to be a certain slime about to go on a fun adventure, and this is what drives him forward for a bit, where he discovers that he's not particularly strong and dies. Sure, a bit sketchy, but he starts over, not thinking too much of it at first, and continues to try out new stuff. A few deaths, as well as some new information later, he manages to overcome the obstacles and all seems good, until he dies in the mansion a few times. This is a key point, because this is where it all starts to go downhill and he becomes the character almost everybody hates. Why? Oh, he lacks substance, he's stupid, cringe, and so on. You're correct. He's a very flawed character. He has no experience, no skills, no nothing, and is thrown into this world of perpetual death and torment, so what the fuck do you expect? You have to understand his point of view. Death is painful. Well, not like any of us experienced it, but this can't be pleasant. And return by death is said to be even more distressful. No shit his behavior is affected by it, although pain is only a part of the problem. The rest is psychological. Baruso has all these memories, feelings, thoughts, yet others don't. For example, when he was telling Emilia how much he has done for her, he's telling the truth, except that she doesn't know most of it because it happened in different realities. And the worst part, he can't share it with anybody. Natsuki tried his best. He did stuff right, he did stuff wrong. Yet the further he went, the shittier the situation became, all the way until his brain completely shut off. REM did help, no doubt, but therapy needs more sessions to work properly, so he still did stupid stuff and was a wreck on the inside until he got a one-on-one with Echidna, Otto, and finally all the witches to begin his redemption. Yes, it did take a while to get there, but if you want a perfect MC, go watch Sword Art Online, where Kirito goes through his friend's death, many life-threatening situations, and other traumatic shit with little to no lasting effects. Take veterans as an example. A good chunk of them come back unable to live a normal life. And you mean to tell me that some teenage schmuck who keeps dying left and right, creating and losing bonds with people, getting involved into world-ending events has to be all tough, strong, and do everything reasonably correct? Don't be a hypocrite. Subaru's situation is absolutely terrible, and it's a miracle that he's still pushing forward. It was I, Mahis, admiring MC into the microphone. Have a great, whatever time of the day you have. Until next time, cheers.